So here we are then, finally at the end of Shakespeare's wonderful play Macbeth, and we have these last few scenes before us to look at, where the army that has been building and marching north to unseat Macbeth from England finally arrives at his castle, and it is the day of reckoning for Macbeth and all his evil deeds. We said right from the beginning of this play, when the opening stage directions were of that thunder and lightning, that kind of in many senses represented the kind of disturbance in the natural order. And we said that kind of foreshadowed Macbeth killing the king, because regicide is always a kind of act of overturning the natural way of doing things, that the natural way that the crown should pass from one generation to the next. And really this force, it's interesting, some of the language used by Malcolm and others in this advancing army it's very much the language of order being re-established, the rightful way of doing things being reasserted over these last few scenes. So even the commands that Malcolm give to the forces as they are about to enter the castle and find Macbeth are very orderly. So he says he's giving the order out for the first group to advance into the castle, and then he says, "Worthy Macduff and we shall take upon us what else remains to do according to our order." And there's this sense of the right way of doing things, the right sense of orderliness being restored, because of course Macbeth's leadership represented disorder and the overturning of standard morality and the natural way of doing things. Another little quote in this scene. Remember, you should have a list of all the little quotes where Macbeth is referred to by somebody, and these little succinct phrases like "abhorred tyrant" are very useful to drop into your essay instead of just saying Macbeth, Macbeth, Macbeth again and again. "Abhorred tyrant" is a good one for that. And towards the end of that scene 7, we do get a little bit of characterization from Macduff. And remember, Macduff has been set up really as the one who is going to finally put an end to Macbeth. And as such, he's kind of everything that Macbeth isn't. And we noted the contrasting ways that the two men reacted to the deaths of their loved ones, showing that Macduff he's a real man, and he feels grief in an appropriate way, whereas Macbeth, who is brutalized by the horrors that he has inflicted on others, is barely even able to feel anything when he learns that Lady Macbeth has been killed. And here again we see this contrast between them playing out. Macduff says on entering the castle, "I cannot strike at wretched cairns whose arms are hired to bear their staves. Either thou, Macbeth, or else my sword with unbattered edge I sheathe again undeeded." In other words, what he's saying is, I'm not here, to indiscriminately kill. I'm full of grief and I'm angry and I'm seeking revenge, but I'm not indiscriminately lashing out at anybody in my path. I am here to justly put an end to Macbeth because of the evil deeds that he has done. It's very proportionate and controlled, even in the grief that Macduff feels. And there's a huge contrast between that and Macbeth's attitude at this point in the play, because even though, as we've noted in Act 5, Scene 5, his life is, he feels his life is no longer worth leading, and almost to the point where he's welcoming death. He refuses, as he says here, to play the Roman fool. That is to end his own life and spare everybody else the kind of the trouble of coming to get him. He says, Why should I play the Roman fool and die on mine own sword? Whiles I see lives, the gashes do better upon them. And that Macbeth right to the end is lashing out indiscriminately. He knows there's no way that he can escape. He knows that the castle is surrounded, and yet right to the end he wants to inflict as much pain and as much harm and as much death, as much violence as he possibly can, right to the end. A huge contrast. He doesn't care who comes near him, he is going to swing the sword. And there's a huge contrast there, hopefully you can see, between Macduff and Macbeth at this point in the play. Macduff arrives, and of course, the equivocation of the witches is revealed, that Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped. In other words, he was born by caesarean section. Remember, the witches had said to Macduff, to Macbeth, that none of women born can harm Macbeth, and Macbeth had felt, well, everyone's born of a woman, so how can I possibly lose? But Macduff reveals the fact that he was born by caesarean section, so in a sense he was not born in the natural way, and that is the answer to the riddle, and Macbeth's number is up. Indeed, Macduff then kills Macbeth, and right at the end we have the re-establishing of the correct order of things, and the rightful king Malcolm is on the throne. Just before we get to that, a couple of little quotes again that you can add to your list of Macbeth. The usurper is a good one there. Dead butcher is another one that we get right at the end in the final speech. And fiend-like queen is a nice little phrase that refers to Lady Macbeth. And this sense of balance and order and the restoration of the rightful way of doing things is very much the tone of Malcolm's final speech, where he talks about himself being crowned. Again, he says, that calls upon us by the grace of grace. We will perform in measure, time, and place. That idea of orderliness, that his leadership, whereas Macbeth's leadership was characterized by disorder, his is going to be characterized by measure, time, and place, by orderliness. And you even get that a little in the final rhyming couplet. So thanks to all at once and to each one. Notice the balance and the measured tone there, from whom we invite to see us crowned at Scone. So there is Macbeth. There are, in these videos you have all the information that you need, all the key quotes that you need to do very well in your critical essay on Macbeth at National 5 level or at higher level. And thank you for following along these videos. I hope you found them very helpful, and I hope you find other things on the site that help you in your studies, and I hope you do as well as you possibly can this year in your exams. Work hard, and hopefully you get everything that you want to out of this year at school. Take care.